Goody, 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 goody. Howdily doodly. And how do you doodly? Let's go ahead and make this quick, but y'all do have time to bow down because y'all gotta stay humble when you're around the king of fumble. Y'all, it's the most wonderful time of the year. We're getting Jack Della Maddalena versus Kevin Holland. Now look, y'all, we gotta talk about this because this is a kind of fight that I am really gonna look forward to. I love Jack Della Maddalena. I love Kevin Holland. I want to talk about this, and this is my first time kind of doing an actual analysis on video. So we're going to go ahead and do some analysising, and let's see what I put, because I forgot what I put in this PowerPoint. First of all, y'all, I'm scared. I'm going to be honest, I'm scared, because I like Jack Della Maddalena, even though he had that last performance against Basel Hafez, which I did watch. Like, I want to talk about why that performance may not be the end of the world. And I love Kevin Holland. You know, he's one of the most likable fighters in my opinion. He was super nice with Wonder Boy. That entire fight buildup was just a lot of fun. You know, Kevin Holland flicked Wonder Boy's nipple, which, you know, it's just dudes being bros, all right? I don't want either of them to lose, but I do want both of them to win. So it's kind of weird, you know, you have them both. I'm pretty sure Holland is number 13 and Jack is number 14. And that's scary, all right? It means there's not going to be a huge rankings jump, which is fine. You know, you don't have to always make it about numbers. But whoever wins this, dude, I could see them getting somebody in the top 10. Well, obviously in the top 10, but like, I'm looking at the UFC rankings right now. Who's not booked? Like, okay, if Jack wins, maybe Sean Brady wouldn't be a terrible choice. Maybe Jack Della Maddalena would face Wonder Boy. I feel like it would depend on who would win, who would get next, you know what I mean? Since Kevin Holland fought Wonder Boy. It's a whole mishmash mosh of stuff that we'd look forward to in talking about who's going to win the fight. What are we going to have in the way of matchmaking afterwards? So I want to sort of go ahead and go through why I personally think one of them could win and why the other one could win. Kind of weigh our options here so we can just talk about it. I did some looking at the Wikipedia pages. I watched a couple of the fights. So hopefully I'm educated enough to talk about this so that my opinion is worth something. Let's talk about why I think Kevin Holland could win. All right, he has 25 wins, and 14 of those are by KO, and 7 are by submission. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Like, submitting Michael Chiesa is a good look to have, since Michael Chiesa has 11 submission wins, and he has no other knockout wins, as there's only finishes. So that's a good name to have when it comes to submissions, all right? It is a 35-year-old Michael Chiesa, but I don't care. That's a good name to have, all right? And, like, the thing is, you can see on his record he has a lot of Darce chokes. He has lost to the Darce choke, which I'll talk about later, but he does do a lot of different submissions. I'm pretty sure he has a triangle win. I think he has an RNC win. He has a couple Darce wins, so he's kind of good when it comes to having multiple different submission threats, as in what we've seen in his fights. He doesn't have a true KO loss on his record. He got pieced up in one of the fights of the year by Stephen Thompson, but he did lose by TKO through a corner stoppage. He didn't actually, get knocked out, so he doesn't have a true, typical knockout loss on his record. He is lanky and long, y'all. He has an 80-inch reach while JDM has a 73-inch reach. It's a 7-inch reach advantage. And look, reach doesn't mean everything, obviously, but it is some sort of, thing to look at. The fact that Kevin has this huge reach advantage, I haven't looked at the betting lines, but it's a decent deal. 7 inches is not significant. And look, I don't hate his resume. I know a lot of people he's fought. I know some of the names. I've watched a lot of his fights. He has a good amount of finish wins in any of the departments. He could strike with JDM. He could submit him. They could go to the ground. There's a train in the background. I live near a train, like a railroad, dude. I'm sorry about that if you can hear that. I think that's a good reason why Kevin Holland could win, is because of his versatility. We've seen him have multiple submissions. We've seen him knock people out, spark out cold like Joaquin Buckley, which still kind of hurts. He's lanky, and he doesn't have a bad resume. He submitted Michael Chiesa, which is never a bad thing to do. Why could Jack Della Maddalena win? Let's talk about it. He's a huge power puncher, so we could see him truly be the first to knock out Kevin Holland. Everyone's chin is good until it's cracked, and JDM does have a reputation to knock people out cold. And he has handled lankier opponents in the past, like Randy Brown, Rude Boy Randy Brown, had a 78-inch reach, and actually JDM submitted him with a rear naked choke. Speaking of, Two of Kevin Holland's sub losses were to rear naked choke. And all of JDM's submission wins, the two he has, because he has 11 knockouts, were rear naked chokes. And let's go ahead and disregard the Hamzat because Hamzat's superhuman and he's basically a middleweight. So let's just, and also the weight, I'm not going to get into that. Let's just ignore that. And it is a turnaround for Holland. Holland fought in like mid-July. It's currently August. The fight's going to happen in September on the Noche UFC card. It doesn't mean everything, but it is something to point out that, you know, Holland is coming back after a little bit, not too long of a window. Of course, he didn't get too much damage. He got the submission in the first round, so that's all nice and good. But it still is something to point out that we are going to see a Holland come back. But again, he's handled himself before. He had that awesome year of 2020, so I'm not super worried about that. So JDM could win because of his power punching. He has some rear naked chokes in his repertoire, which Holland has lost to in the past. And the potential for the turnaround to be quick for Holland could cause some problems. But I know there's something I want to talk about. What about the Basel Hafez fight? Like, look, it was a split decision for JDM, and that could have easily gone to Basel Hafez, right? I scored it for JDM. But, like, Basel Hafez did a great job. He's a huge ground game specialist. Looking at his record, he has a lot of submission wins. But does this mean that JDM isn't as good as we thought he is? Did he get fraud checked? Did he get derailed? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on what you think of the following sort of questions, right? Did the 170 weight cut, having cut down twice to 170-ish in a very short amount of time, did that cause his performance to be lesser? Yeah, potentially. I mean, you could easily say that, right? So that's a potential excuse. You know, I'm using the word excuse pretty heavily there, but it's a good reason why his performance may not have been the JDM we thought we'd see. And does this mean that JDM's not going to improve? A lot of people, whenever they do MMA math and all that stuff, which, by the way, I'm an MMA mathematician. I am not, not guilty, right? I do MMA math all the time. I did it actually while I was making this. Both of these guys beat Alex Oliveira. So, you know what I mean? I've done that before. But I think what JDM would have behooved him to do is I think he should work on his ground game. Kevin Holland is not a joke on the ground. Of course, he gets ragdolled by Hamzat, but that's Hamzat, all right? That's like getting ragdolled by a heavyweight and you're a flyweight, right? So I'm not going to really hold that against Kevin too much, you know what I mean? He called it a grappling match, you know what I mean? So I think JDM improves on his ground game. I think that should be something he's working on because we already know he can strike with with the best of them. He's a really good striker, has lots of knockout wins, and that's why a lot of people like him right now is because he's a really good boxer. I would improve his ground game. I would work on that rear naked choke because Kevin has lost to that. I would, work on getting all those awesome ground game stuff I don't really know about because I'm a filthy casual. I would focus on those if I were Jack. But I don't think this last performance was the end of the world for him. I think it means, this is how I'm taking it, Jack Della Maddalena has some vulnerabilities on the ground. He may win by rear naked choke, but he's lost by submission in the past. He's also lost by knockout in the past. I forget how he lost, actually. Let me look this up. I'm just going to the Wikipedia page right quick, so I'm sorry. I'm just going to see what JDM lost by. He lost by rear naked choke. Oh, hey! And it's no coincidence that around a year later, his first rear naked choke came in. His first win. That's kind of funny. Well, what does this mean? Taking into account the past, taking into account the present, what does this mean for the future? I don't know, dude. I'm new to this. This is my second or third day on the job, man. This is like maybe 48 hours after I made my first video. I don't know who I'm picking. The good news is I'll have time to digest because it's in September. At the moment, I'm favoring Kevin Holland. I'm favoring him because of his submission wins. I'm favoring because of his submission over Michael Chiesa. He's a good puncher. He's a good striker. He lost to Wonderboy, but, that's okay. Everyone loses to Wonderboy once in a while. I lose to Wonderboy. But JDM, man, you can never count him out. He's a boxer. He has a heavy, heavy hands. The 7-inch reach advantage to Holland, the submissions on his record, leads me to say I'm going to choose Holland. But that could easily change, man. I'm not going to lie. That could easily change. So what do you guys think? I think we could see Kevin Holland be the one to take out JDM. But just as easily, I could see Jack Della Maddalena being the first to knock out Kevin Holland. And, like, I don't know which I'd prefer. Let's go ahead and actually talk about something right quick before I go ahead and sign off. Looking at who I'd give the winners. So, Kevin Holland is number 12. Jack Della Maddalena is number 14. I would say you could give Kevin Holland or JDM Jeff Neal. You could give JDM to Wonderboy, since I think Wonderboy would be a kind of fight that he would want to take. Like, Stephen Thompson wants to take strikers on, and Jack Della Maddalena is a striker. So you could, if Kevin Holland, loses to JDM, then Wonderboy would make really a lot of sense. Which I then have Wonderboy winning because I love him. If Holland wins, though, that's a bit more confusing. I'd love to see. It's not going to happen. I would love to see Holland versus Shafkat, dude. That'd be so cool, bro. But I would say Holland could fight... Jeez. I don't even know. That's kind of a tough one because he's fought Wonderboy already. And I'm pretty sure he's fought Jeff Neal in the past. Well, we'll figure that out if Holland wins. That being said, guys, thank you for joining me. This is fun to talk about. This is my first time doing an actual analysis. Hopefully I analyzed well. Let me know if I did a good job. This is coming out today, so that being said, Dippity-dippity, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.